been a good run with this car, but it's time to pull the SR out of it and put it in the S14 Silvia. Had this thing for about like 7-8 years. And just started off as like a complete bare shell, and I built it up to this point. But I mean, the car is just really ratty. A lot of corners were cut back when I was building it initially, and I don't love the tube front, so I do want just kind of like a very clean like street car that I also can drift, rather than like a super just like specific just built drift car. So I mean, this thing doesn't have any heat, air conditioning or anything like that. Everything underneath the dashboard is completely stripped and just a wiring harness underneath it. So just a lot of things, and just stuff that would make me want to get rid of it, but still unsure exactly what's going to happen with the car itself. But for now, I'm just going to pull the engine out of it and then just park it back here for now and see what happens, whether I keep the shell for any future like missile, well, maybe a 1J missile or something like that maybe in the future. But for now, I definitely want this powertrain just in the Silvia, but with a proper, you know, standalone and a couple other stuff to just clean it up a little bit. But yeah, a little bittersweet to see this thing go. Had a lot of fun this summer, but honestly, if I don't just do it and rip the Band-Aid, I don't know if I'll get rid of it for a while, so might as well just pull it out. NASR is out of the Silvia. Come on, bring it in here. Take a look. Got a whole lot of potential here.
That's a lot of fluids, man.
Lots of fluids. We thought we drained it all. There's still a lot left. Anyways, what we can do now is we can start cleaning the rails and everything like that, and the cross member, if we want to get some of that oil off, the sludge. We can drill a hole in the firewall now for the clutch master, and then start piecing things together. Once I get a alignment tool for the clutch, I can then pop the clutch onto the Turbo SR, pop the transmission on it.
This cool ass.
And once the clutch and transmission's on this thing, we can pop her in the Silvia and then start like mocking up intercooler piping, intake piping, and stuff like that.
Yeah, because now you're going to go Link ECU, so you're going to have to weld IAT, bung, and whatnot.
Yes.
You got that fancy Gretty intercooler.
Yes. So we're gonna start now. The next thing to get the hybrid Toke Factory valve cover onto the SR is to actually get it painted. So I'm going to be using 2K clear and a 2K base coat. And that's just so that I can withstand the temperatures. Valve covers don't get necessarily super hot, so you don't have to be super worried, but just to get something that has a little bit higher of a temperature range. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down with some wax and grease remover. And then I'm gonna do a primer coat, and then we'll put some base on there. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. Most likely gonna sand down the letters, but yeah, we're just going for like a gloss black. So yeah, first we're gonna wipe it down, and then we'll do some primer. Just did the last coat of clear coat, and I think it came out really good for coming out of a can. There's little contamination in some of the paint, but overall, I mean, it looks really good. And this is before, if I do want to wet sand it, I could. But I think it looks pretty good. So much better than I had some like other rattle can like blue without clear on the engine. But yeah, this looks much better. So let this cure up completely, and then we can start finally putting together the top part of the engine. So I've got Tark's R35 coil pack conversion and a couple other things. So we're gonna start butting it up a little bit. So yeah, I'm gonna let this cure overnight, honestly, and just once it's tomorrow, we can take a look at it. But it's a little cold outside, so I want to give it extra time, and then we can think if we want to sand down, wet sand the coating. Just took the time to just wet sand and polish the valve cover, and it looks significantly better. Still a little bit of some haziness, but I think overall, I mean, it looks significantly better. So now that it's all wet sanded, I'm gonna throw it in the car and start putting together the engine. All right, so the next up for the engine, I'm gonna throw a Tarx R35 coil pack conversion kit on it. It's running Hitachi R35 coil packs and whatever bracket and hardware they have for it. But I'm excited to see this on the engine and just try out, you know, upgraded coil packs compared to like the stock S13 coil packs. But yeah, we just threw in some new spark plugs and we'll just get started on putting the kit together. Last cool thing that's going to go on the engine is an ORC twin disc clutch. I went with the 559 SE series, so it should be a softer pedal feel and not be as aggressive for a twin clutch. So I think what I need to do is take it apart, pressure plates and all the clutch discs and everything, mount the flywheel onto the engine, and then just start to assemble the clutch packs and the pressure plate onto the engine. And then at that point, then we can stab the transmission into the engine, and then we can actually pop it right into the car. All right, so I got the clutch kind of disassembled. I just popped the first disc just on top of the pressure plate so I don't get the material dirty, friction material. But this is the SE, so the light series, and I guess it has this little ring that actually helps dampen the clamp force of the clutch pedal, and as well as it's a spring disc, both discs. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the flywheel onto the engine. I'm using brand new ARP fasteners. What you do is you actually apply the assembly lube under the head of the screw, and then they also call out to use 242 Loctite on the threads itself, and they actually give you instructions that call that out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the flywheel on following the torque specs. With the sheet, it says 70 foot-pounds. I'm going to do kind of in steps, so maybe like 2 steps, so like 40 then 70. But yeah, I'm gonna pop the flywheel on the engine right now. I just finished torquing up the flywheel bolts, followed kind of a crisscross pattern. Also used a wrench, put in one of the transmission bolts into the block, and then you can actually prevent the flywheel from spinning. They make tools also that align with your starter teeth, but I don't have one of those, so this works pretty good. So now that that's on, I can start putting together the clutch. And I bought a billet alignment tool just to make sure everything was really nice and tight. But yeah, don't forget to use an alignment tool for your clutch discs. But yeah, I'm gonna pop the clutch on. Next big upgrade is a DW300 Deechworks fuel pump. So I just finished installing it onto my hanger. This is the factory fuel pump. So I got it all in the hanger, got the sock on and everything. So last thing for me to do now is to splice in the wires, and then we can throw it into the car. All right, so the fuel pump is in. There's a couple different videos online that you can find on how to get the whole hanger in, but there's basically those two tabs that are on the hanger itself. You actually need to slot them into something that's all the way on this wall of the fuel tank. So pretty easy, just it's easier to see it from the trunk. So for that portion, I kind of peek through the trunk. But fuel pump's in, make sure you tighten this ring, and then put the hoses back on how you had them. I just labeled them 1, 1, 2, 2s just so I don't get confused, but it's pretty easy not to confuse them. But so the fuel pump's in. We'll go ahead and put the plate back on, and then start hooking up the fuel hoses on the engine itself. A lot of work has gotten done since I last recorded something, but yeah, I had to just kind of get started on everything and try and get as much done as possible without filming. But all the piping and everything is done. Intake is done. I had a bung welded to it. IET sensor was welded to the intercooler piping. Oil cooler and all the lines have been made, so all that's plumbed up, and wiring harness is in. It's all plugged in, and just finishing up a little bit of the odds and ends. Right now I'm gonna actually start finalizing all the sensors and stuff, and then try and plug in the ECU, my Link, and then try and see what setup looks like. But first I got to make sure all the systems are good, fill the engine up with oil, and then I also have to make sure I put my O2 sensor in, my CAN Lambda that I got from Link. And then once I route that and hook that up, I'm going to try and see if I can plug the ECU in, load up the program, and then get some of the ECU stuff figured out. This is the CAN Lambda sensor that I'm going to be using. Now it looks like the actual wiring's a little short, and I've seen people have to like route it through the floor. Let me see if there's any grommets though that are near the O2 bung on the downpipe. See if I can just route this up near the ECU. But yeah, this is next up, and then plug in the ECU. Got the diff in, drive shaft in, and the rear adjustable arms. Now that the drive shaft's in, I could do my catback. It's just some eBay 3-inch exhaust, so I'm gonna pop it on. Everything is wired in, oil cooler is plumbed up. I got all my vacuum lines ran, and I got the ECU temporarily kind of placed, but it's plugged in. Got my USB to go into the laptop, but I got the vacuum source for the map sensor, and I got a plug that goes into the ECU for the O2 CAN Lambda sensor. So that's all plugged in. I also got the shifter in with the center console back in. So waiting for Nico to show up with his laptop, and then we're gonna try to plug it in and run the base map into the ECU, and then try to crank it up for the first time. Making the foot in here.
Yeah.
We just backfired out the inside.